Hi everyone, my name is Asmau and I'll be talking to you about incorporating quotations today. So, why do we need to integrate quotations? When writing a paper, it's important to integrate quotes because it gives the reader an insight into your mind, which helps strengthen your argument. Your quotations are used as evidence to support your argument because everyone can read the book, but not everyone can read your mind. It gives us insight into what you're thinking. How do I execute this? When integrating a quotation, there are three parts. There's the setup, which is the context of the quotation, and then analysis. So how does this quote support your ideas? First, let's go over setting up your quotation. A good setup for a quotation includes A claim that introduces the need for the quotation. So usually this is the topic sentence or the main idea. B, any needed context for the quotation. So where is this quotation coming from in the story? And why did you pick it from that particular moment in time versus another moment in time? And C, and transition into the quotation, which will guide the reader into the quote that they'll be reading. So let's get some examples. The first one is, Achilles really messed everything up. The rage sang, O goddess of Achilles, the son of Peleus, the destructive anger that brought 10,000 pains to the Achaeans. So is this a good setup? Why or why not? I would say that this setup could be greatly improved because there are no clear transitions between the quote and the explanation. We just have a sentence that says Achilles really messed everything up and then the quotation. There's nothing that really connects the two of them. Another way this could be improved is that the setup doesn't explain the relevance of the quotation. So as a reader, I don't really understand how Achilles really messed everything up relates to the quotation that the writer used. And finally, the sentence, their setup is too general or too broad to be a claim for anything. When using the setup, you want to be more specific so that the reader can truly understand what it is that you're trying to argue. So let's try this again. The beginning lines of Homer's Iliad further emphasizes the destruction Achilles will bring. The rage sang, O goddess of Achilles, the son of Peleus, the destructive anger that brought 10,000 pains to the Achaeans. So this setup is much better because it references the author and the book. So when you reference the author and the book, the reader can then think back on any information that they have and use that to further understand or read the paper. But there are still a couple of ways that it could be improved. So it also gives context, which is another good thing. And by saying the beginning lines of Homer's Iliad further emphasizes the destruction that Achilles will bring. So now we see that, okay, we're talking about destruction. Now let's talk about proper quote formatting. So for correct grammar and punctuation, short quotes, the punctuation goes after the parenthetical citation, and block quotes, the punctuation goes before the citation. Block quotes are usually considered any quotations that take up more than 3 lines of text. So here's an example. We have the same shorter quotation, and as you can see, the period goes after the parenthetical citation. And then we have a block quote over here, which the period goes before the parenthetical citation. And again, here's another example. Achilles' rage is a formidable theme of the Iliad that is mentioned in the first line of the poem. The rage sing, O goddess of Achilles, the son of Peleus, the destructive anger that brought 10,000 pains to the Achaeans and sent many brave souls of fighting men to the house of Hades, and made their bodies a feast for dogs and all kinds of birds. So with block quotes, even though it does take up more than 3 lines of text, it's still important to have your setup still. So with this one, the setup is the same. It talks about the formidable theme of Achilles' rage. And so the writer did a good job of setting up the reader for this quotation. Also with block quotations, it's important to note that there will be no quotation marks. Here are some more examples for same sentence punctuations and grammar. So the most common type of quotation is usually a sentence long. So for example, he exclaims, but in truth, if in truth you speak in earnest, then the gods themselves have ruined your brain. You can also edit quotations using brackets, using the square brackets to edit for tense, pronouns, and also for clarification. So over here, speaks and throws were edited for tense, and then Achilles was added for clarification, the son of Peleus. Also, your quotes don't always have to be a sentence long. You could also have shorter quotes as long as they're just as effective. You're setting them up and explaining why you use those quotations. So, for example, the death of the Achaeans should not be blamed on Achilles because it was the will of Zeus. So, for correct citations, in epic poems such as the Iliad or the Odyssey, parenthetical citations follow this format: author, book number, and line number. And then we have an example here with Homer's Iliad or Odyssey. And if the author is mentioned in the setup before the quote, their name does not have to be included in the parenthetical citation. For works by Shakespeare, such as The Tempest, parenthetical citations follow play title, act number, scene number, and then line numbers. However, if you're only quoting one play in a paper, you do not have to include the title in the citation. So if your entire paper is on The Tempest, you won't have to write Tempest in your parenthetical citation. Now, let's start in by analyzing our quotations. So for the analysis, you shouldn't just end your paragraph with a quote and assume that the reader will understand the significance of the quote. It's important to take time to explain why you chose that quote, why it's relevant to your paragraph and your thesis as a whole. Your interpretation should be the bulk of your paragraph with the quote as supplementary evidence. Here's an example. The Achaeans' dismal prospects in the Trojan War are worsened by their disharmony as a team. Nestor's speech alludes to this when he says, "Even now you can say so to wise Achilles, in hopes he will be persuaded. Who knows if, with the help of some spirit, you might rouse his heart with your persuasive speech?" Nestor states this because he recognizes that Achilles is a source of dissonance for the team. If the Achaeans can reunite with Achilles, their army will be more cohesive and thus stronger as a whole. So this is a really good analysis. The writer is explaining why they chose that quotation and is relating it back to their topic or their purpose, which is the disharmony of the team in the Trojan War. So this example could be strengthened in a couple of ways. By requoting and using similar words from your quote in your analyses, this is one way to help strengthen your analyses and make sure that the reader is actually understanding the point that you're trying to get across. And make sure that you're explaining why did you choose the quote? Explain why the evidence you saw in the quote supports your argument. How does it support what you're arguing in this paragraph? And how does it support what you're arguing in your thesis as a whole? It could also be helpful to allude to similar situations in the story. And always, like I said before, always make sure to connect it to your thesis because that's what you're arguing. And your analysis is supposed to strengthen your paper and tie back your quotations, which is your evidence, to your argument. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about incorporating quotes into your paper, make sure to comment them down below and we'll get back to them as soon as possible. And here are the sources for this presentation. Thank you.